Welcome back everyone to another Borderlands 3 wishlist video. And in this video I'm back in the dust because I wanted to talk about farming. Farming's obviously a big part of this game, and it kind of related to the last video of things I want from other games and such. So I guess the best way to address this issue is to just kind of go through all of the games. Borderlands 1 really had the worst farming in the series, if you ask me. It was really just chest and vendor. There was very few dedicated drops. It was almost all just farm and vendor. And that to me is not a good way to do it. And we've evolved quite a bit past then. But where Borderlands 1 did do better than some of the other games was world drops were a lot more common. But it also had a different kind of gun system and different levels of rarity. Obviously that's rarity. Different levels of legendary rarity. Where Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel just have one legendary. They don't have the different shades of orange.
Stop struggling.
But then we moved on to Borderlands 2. Now, Borderlands 2 had a lot worse drop rates from enemies, chests, and especially vendors. The vendor drop rates for Borderlands 2 were particularly bad. But what it did well was dedicated drops from bosses. So if you want a gun, you know where to get it. And that was a good system. Now, there was problems with that system. At first, the drop rates were 1 in 30, which weren't abysmal, but they weren't fantastic. But the biggest problem with that was there was crowded loot pools. And crowded loot pools really kind of wrecked some things. Because there's some enemies that would have multiple heads and skins, or heads or skins, I should say. I don't think any enemy had heads and skins. Maybe they did. But then they'd have a couple of guns as well. Tubbies, which I'm kind of farming for now, was a prime example of this. You had all the new legendary comms in the Tubby loot pool, which was 3 per character.
Hold it.
So that is 18 different drops. You had the cradle. You had the new pearls. You just had so many different items that if you're farming for that one item, it can be tough. Bunker was another one because you had the bitch, the sham, and skins. You had Vermi, who had skins, the North Fleet. I think he had something else, but maybe I'm wrong. But any enemy that had heads, skins... There we go, Black Queen. Yeah, any enemy that had both head, skins, and a gun, or multiple guns, was quite difficult. Because you never kind of knew what to expect or what you might get. And that really kind of hurt that. But like I was saying, also in Borderlands 2, the items of the day were particularly abysmal. And just chest drops were not that great. Now they did improve this late in the game, where they made a patch to drop everything to from 1 in 30 to 1 in 10. And just increase drop rates overall. And that definitely helped with it. Still not perfect, but made it a hell of a lot better. And then we moved on to the pre-sequel, and the pre-sequel had an interesting take on it. Where is it? Make sure he's done an RPG loader. Oh, I'll find him eventually. So no, not you. The pre-sequel had Borderlands 2 system, but they kind of took away dedicated drops which was really lame.
So it goes.
And they added a system that is the grinder. Now, I don't know if the grinder was to replace that or if the grinder was just something they were doing. There's never really evidence, but a lot of people accuse Gearbox of getting rid of farming in exchange for the grinder. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but the pre-sequel, they fixed vendor drop rates. Chest drop rates were still not that great, but they did add special chests like the Moonstone chests, and those are really the only special ones, I guess, other than DLC stuff. But they added those where you can get the Moonshine stuff, which was kind of cool. You had to pay to open them. So far, no good drops in this one. We'll see in a second when I go up to
That was interesting.
So that was kind of the 3 games farming. Now, in Borderlands 3, I kind of hope where they go where the pre-sequel ended. I don't know if that's a popular opinion or not, or I guess I don't really care if it's a popular opinion. But, I like the grinder, but
Gotcha.
I like it as an extra thing.
That was messy.
I don't actually use it that often, but I like the idea of it. Now, I prefer the Borderlands 2 system to Borderlands 1 overall because, well, Borderlands 1 has better drop rates. If I want the Hellfire in Borderlands 2, I can easily go get a Hellfire. If I want a Hellfire in Borderlands 1, I have to get lucky of getting a random world drop.
That was awesome.
And that, I don't think is a great system. You know, there's still guns in Borderlands 2 that really suck to get, like the Becca, which I'm holding now, because crowded loot pools and stuff, and you can tweak that stuff. So I hope they kind of stay with the Borderlands 2/TPS system. I think the 1 in 10 is better than a 1 in 30 number, so keep that. But get rid of, well, not really get rid of, but I hope they keep the grinder and expand on the grinder. I hope they keep the dedicated drops, but get rid of any crowded loot pools. Crowded loot pools are just no good for anybody. And I think they hopefully have learned that, although there was a few crowded loot pools in the pre-sequel. Come on, where is this car? Now, I hope they also stick with the pre-sequel's vendors, because the vendor farm, not that you want a vendor farm, but items of the day should be good. And in the pre-sequel, they were very good. In Borderlands 2, they were utter trash. And you could never, ever get anything good out of them. And you know, their station was down. So that's where I kind of hope they go with the generic, I guess, farming. But, I want them to up the chest drop rates a little bit, or do special chests. Kind of like the Moonshine chests. We have a little bit better chance of getting something. Because I think in Borderlands 2 in the pre-sequel, I mean, although I've found, and even on video, some cool drops in the chest, they're still a bit too rare. Now, to the grinder, I really hope they bring the grinder back. I know that might not be that popular, but if the grinder is there and you have dedicated drop sources of 1 in 10, I think it's a good thing. I think most people's anger with the grinder was because there wasn't dedicated drop sources, but if you have both, I think that's a win. Especially with better items of the day. I don't see a problem with that. Some people still might, but I don't know. I think it's cool. It gives you something to do with bad guns. But I would like the grinder to kind of be split into 2 sides, or have 2 different grinders, kind of like we have different vendors. And this kind of goes to that weapon crafting. I talked about weapon crafting in the previous video, and I said, if they do any weapon crafting, it would be to kind of pay a decent chunk to maybe change a part or something. I don't want the kind of system like Division where you're kind of adding parts and buying parts and all that stuff. So, you know how the grinder works is you put in 3 guns and you get a different gun out of it. What would be another cool option for that is, let's say I got my Pimpernel and I got a shitty Pimpernel, and since it's a quest reward there's only one. Well, what I could do is I could pop it in the grinder with 2 other guns and change the parts on it. And I don't know if the best way to do that would be, you know, put the Pimpernel in and you could get any of the parts on the guns you put in, or maybe you could just pick a part like, alright, I'm going to grind the grip. And if I put in 2 Mollywan ones, I have a good chance of getting a Mollywan grip. If I put in, you know, 1 Mollywan and 1 Hyperion grip, you know, the chances are 50-50, something like that. I don't know if that would be, I mean, that would probably be a better system people would like. But I don't know if that would be something that a Gearbox would, you know, kind of want to do, or is kind of in their vision of the game. But I don't think that would be a bad system, especially because quest rewards suck. So, on that point, I also hope at the end game of Borderlands 3, they have some kind of quest reward and a way to farm these. A perfect example would have been in, maybe not a perfect, but an example would be at the end of DigiPeak.
Stay still.
When Canis gives you, you know, a purple gun. It would have been a lot cooler if that quest reward at that point could have been a selection of quest rewards. So maybe not all of them. Maybe you have a handful of things that do different ones, but like the Holodome did that.
Stop struggling.
And in the Holodome, you could... Enemies in the Holodome could drop Holodome loot pool items, and then your quest reward was a Holodome loot item. And it was a crowded pool, but when you combine those two, it wasn't too bad. And I think that'd be cool if there was like a peak-like thing, where, you know, badass enemies in that peak could drop items from the quest reward loot pool, let's say, and also in that loot pool, so also in that loot pool, you could get, you know, those the enemies, and that'd be a good way to get those, because, you know, it's kind of annoying, like, I guess the Pimpernel, again, as an example, is in my hand, that if you do that quest earlier or something, you just can't get it again. You know, the Sandhawk, the Orphan Maker, and quest reward farming is a terrible, terrible thing. And it's kind of almost exploitive. So hopefully that is an upgrade we get. I love fixing there.
Calm down.
Let's see, what's next on that list for farming? And I think that's mainly it. It's like, I really, really like the Borderlands 2 system. I like how they tweaked it in the pre-sequel, post-patches. I absolutely don't like their original decision not to make a lot of these bosses repeatable or farmable. But the dedicated... I don't think there's really any arguing that the dedicated bosses are better than not. Because once again, like Borderlands 1... I mean, all the farming pretty much came down to Cromarax,
Hold it right there.
or the Armory. And the Armory was a glitch to get back in there. I think that bad spot. Let's get down. It's weird that those guys are jumping in and out of aggro.
Enough.
Yeah, so like Borderlands 1 farming to me is just random and tedious. And I'd much... Oh, buzzers are ready. Not really for them. I'd much rather have the dedicated sources, but drop the crowded loot pool. Come on. There's a badass crowd. I don't mess around with them too much. So I'm gonna take care of this puzzle first. Alright. You know, I like the idea of the grinder, and I hope they can expand on it. I don't think the grinder's a bad thing. You know, crowded loot pools are bad. Items of the day, they need to make sure those are kind of like the pre-sequel in Borderlands 1. They should always be good.
Grenade out! Stay still.
And I hope they keep doing things like the moonshine chest and stuff. Kind of special, more expensive chests that give you a better chance at something good.
Please stop.
Why are these guys de-aggroed? That's so weird. No, he's aggroed. Oh well. But once again, you know, I'm gonna go hit a red chest here and watch there'll be a legendary in it just to prove me wrong. No, but it's not a bad one. I guess the other thing with farming is the levels of guns. As long as I got a few more things to check here. A lot of people really bitched about, you know, at the end game you can get in Borderlands 2, like McNally here, he could drop stuff anywhere from, you know, on level to 2 levels below. No good drops. Like here, OP7 instead of OP8. I don't really mind that too much. I don't know, like, all guns kind of have that. I mean, maybe I guess if you get to endgame there'd be a switch, but you benefit from that so much during the regular game by getting drops that are ahead of your level that you can level into and they last longer. And, you know, Diablo and all those kind of games, they all have that. But, I don't know. That part of it doesn't bother me. I don't think that needs to be a huge priority. And it'd be nice if every time I got a gun it was at my level, but there's gotta be some RNG game, right? So that pretty much covers farming. I mean, I hope they keep it in a mix of things. I guess from Borderlands 1, kind of take the higher drop rates and up your random chest drop rates a bit to get them more in line with that game, but still give us the dedicated stuff we want. Ooh, another one. So yeah, that's it. Sadly, I did not get any drops in this run. I was hoping I was to get something cool between all this, because I farmed quite a bit. But, oh well. That is farming. You don't always get what you want. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys want them to do with farming. What you would like them to keep from games. What game you thought did it the best. And so forth. Bam. That's a good place to end it. See you later. Bye.